Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Book and Game Festival Ryškiai, where authors connect our readers. We have a special surprise for you today from Holland. And please meet Caja, Cazemier, and Martine Letterie, book writers and authors for a book made by Indira, Mada bet kokia kaina. I hope I pronounced your names correctly. And hello, Caja and Martine.
Hello.
Hello, Rusne, and hello, readers. Very nice.
Hello, everyone.
To make a visit like this to Litauen. So it's very special for us to be with you at the festival.
Yeah, it's an honor for me to talk to you today, that we have an opportunity, at least virtually. And first of all, I would like to ask about you. Caja, Cazemier, you have written more than 50 books. You are a coach for young adults. And did you always wanted to be a writer?
Yes, when I was a little girl, I was writing little stories, and I once said I want to be a writer when I grow up. But I always said I want to be a teacher, and I became both. And at this moment, I only am a writer. But yes, it was an old dream.
And what are your favorite topics for the book?
I write only for young people in the age of 11, 12 until 16, 17 years old. And I write about everyday problems young people may encounter. Like falling in love, sexuality, the relationship with their parents, school, online bullying, online dating, alcohol, drugs, that's kind of subjects.
Okay, thank you. And Martine Letterie, you are writing books, but I saw that you also did some documentaries about some of the books. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's mostly my husband who does the work, I must say. So we think about it together, and it is a way to bring the books closer to the readers. So this is to make them more enthusiastic or more curious what the book is about, and it works because I mostly write about historical themes, and I notice it is sometimes difficult to come to readers with a historical theme, so a little documentary helps them to get more curious.
And do you create those documentaries just about the books that you write, or also about other books?
No, it's only about my own books because, well, it's a lot of work and I like to do it, but I like writing the most. So, yeah. And that's the real work.
That's very nice. I would like also to see some of those documentaries. So I will check them on your channel because I saw that on your website. So everyone who would like to see it and understand Dutch, please check those documentaries. And we are so happy that we have your book in Lithuanian. It's made by Indira, Mada bet kokia kaina. And this book was noticed in Europe and got even a prize of a White Raven in 2018. It's not the first book that you wrote together. And how did you find each other?
Well, we were found by the publisher, and it is a long time ago. This is a book with 3 books in it, and it is about children who go to high school. They go at the age of 12 in the Netherlands to another school, and we are the same age, and Caja and I, and we have children in the same age, exactly the same week they are born, so it's special. And we were at that time mothers of children who were experiencing that, and we were brought together by the publisher to write about this subject. So this is how we found each other, and we became friends.
That's very nice.
We began to write together because that book is that are a lot of stories. But I said afterwards, I said to Martine, I would like to write together a book, because the other that we wrote with three of us, with another colleague. And I said, maybe we can write together a book with one main story. And she, and of course, she has about a young adult, a child or a young person in the past, and I write about a young person at this time, and both stories do connect to each other. But yeah, we discovered we have the same way of writing. It fits together.
And we have written two books before together. This is one, a family secret is called. And Caja has written about a young girl now who is searching in her family history, and she discovers that her grandfather and his sister come from a family who were on the side of the Nazis during the war. And this is a sort of you don't talk about it in the Netherlands. It's a difficult kind of problem. And we wrote this book, and it was very well received, and we got a kind of prize for it, and it's still selling very well. And then we wrote another one, and this one is Keerzijde. It's about a young girl in 1900 and a young girl now who are struggling with their sexuality. And the girl in 1900, she loves to have sexual relationship with men, and the girl now, she feels a bit pushed towards it and is not ready for it. So it's and I based the story of the 1900 girl on my great grandmother, who got a child without a husband. So this is what we wrote before.
That's nice, and I already see the continuity of your work, because you write stories from two perspectives, and those two kind of perspectives are also in this book. And could you please, each of you, could you tell a bit more about this story?
I wrote a story about Tera, and maybe Martine can tell about Indira. Tera is a young girl who likes shopping very much, and the cheaper, the more glad she is. And her aunt is working for a union, a trade union, and she takes Tera with her to India to show her the world of the garment industry, and how clothes are made, and the child labor in the factories. And Tera learns the world behind cheap clothes. And that's my story. And she meets Indira, and maybe Martine can tell
and
more.
That's my story. I wrote about an Indian girl who is working in a factory, and her perspective is not very good. It's very bad. And she works with a lot of girls of her age, and she has a kind of experiences we tell in the book. I tell the story of what she experiences in the book. And in the end, she meets an organization who tries to help her to get out of this situation, because there are a lot of young girls. You have in India the caste system. It says that if you were born in a certain family, you never can become in another kind of situation. And she is from the lowest caste, and she has no possibilities. And these are the Dalit girls, and especially the girls have not much perspective. And it is a very sad situation. And a lot of these girls work in the factory. So I told a true story, what she experiences, and what she and her friends experience.
Mm-hmm. And how did you choose this topic? Because it's quite intense and it's very important in nowadays. So how did you find this and decided to write about it?
Well, we started to think about, again, because I mostly write historical novels. So we started again looking for a topic with a person now and someone in the past. And then we thought, well, how about the factory, the clothing factories, but in history? And then we talked about it with our husbands, and my husband said, why don't you change it and write about a girl, not about a girl then and now, but about a girl here and there? So this was how the idea was born about to write about the actual problems now.
So it's very nice that you also, I can see how you're co-working around this topic. You divide topics for one character, for another, and you also answering about those kind of topics. It's really nice to see that your cooperation is so fluent. And I would like to ask, why did you choose India, not another Asian country?
In the beginning, we want to choose for Bangladesh because Martine knows someone who is working for the Bangladesh Accord, and he is working with that organization for the safety in the factories in Bangladesh. And but at that time, it was not safe for people from the West, and there were some Western people murdered. So he said, "Van, don't go to Bangladesh." And then we were connected to someone of a trade union here, and she had connections in India, and she goes often to India because in the south of India there's a lot of clothing industry, and so we came at India.
But there was also another motive to choose India, because we were both very much touched by the Sumangali system, the dowry system. And that was why we choose in the end India, because we thought that our readers, young girls now, would be touched also very much by this system, this Sumangali system. So that was the ultimate motive to do so.
Mm-hmm. And yes, as I know, you have traveled to India and even did some interviews and some reviews about all that story. And tell me more about this trip, and maybe Martine can share the presentation.
Yes, I can do that. We traveled to the south of India. You see there the green state of Tamil Nadu. And that is where a lot of our t-shirts are made. And there is a lot of clothing industry in the south. So that is where we went. And we came in contact with an organization which is named SAVE. And here you see us at the office of SAVE and of the people who helped us. In the middle is the director of SAVE. And at the left is Mary, and she was our direct contact. And on the right is Prabhu, and there is a quote of his in the book. You see here this in the beginning. There is a quote of Prabhu. He says, "If you buy something very cheap, then be sure that somebody else is suffering for that." And I was very much touched by it. And he is working for the unions in all south of Asia, and he helped us and showed us around in India. And we saw a lot. This is a factory, a small factory where there are working only a few women, and this is a sort of all right factory, because they work in daytime, they don't have children working there, and this is a factory which was controlled by the union, and they said it was a good factory, because visiting the bad factories was, of course, more difficult, because they don't want to show what is happening there. But then we get a vision of it, and we had to learn to eat Indian food, of course. And this is how we are. And you see this red part of my face. This is when they greet you. They make this red point on your face. So this was the rest of a greeting ceremony you can see here. And this is a house. We've been visited, and this is how I could visualize the house of Indira, because this is how she lived. People only have one room, and what you see in the end is the kitchen, but they sleep on the floor, and on the side you can see they have some stuff which they lay there, and they roll out their beds in the night. They sleep on the floor, and this is the only house. And in the corner they have this how do you call it? An altar? What is it?
I don't know the English word. A little temple.
A little temple, a house temple it is, yes. And this is how we met the girls, because you wrote in your interview, we met 5 girls. What were you met a lot of more girls, 25 even, no, even more. And
75.
here you see, what do you say?
75.
75, yes, sorry. And here you see
In the whole week.
Yeah, in one whole week. And we had first the dream if we could only meet 1 girl or 2 girls, but we met 75. And here you see how I am talking to Mary. She's translating to me in Tamil, so that we could ask the girls. And you see on the other side of Mary, you see Caja is making the notes. And we divided it like this, because I was going to write about the Indian girl. So I wanted to look them in the eyes and have the most of the contact with them, because it would be my figure. And here you see other girls. We met big groups and small groups, and these are young girls. The one in the front, it was about 14, and they all worked in factories already. Officially, they were not allowed, but their families had needed their money, and that is how they came in the factories. And friendship is everywhere. We saw that, and that is they are just like our girls here in Lithuania and in the Netherlands. And here you see when we talk, this is in a village, and when we talk to the girls, the whole village came and looked at us. So that was made it also difficult for them to really tell their stories, because everybody was listening, of course. And I remember there were girls there of 18 who already had 3 children. And there was one girl who told us there that she couldn't work, she couldn't get children anymore because she had been standing too long in the factories. So she was disabled by that. And this is how our conversations were looking like. And you see the girl in the white there. And I had her image in my head when I wrote about Indira, because she said, when I go into the factory, I feel like I'm going into a prison. And I was really touched by that. And she had a kind of still fighting spirit, because a lot of girls, most of them, I think almost all of them said, when we asked them, do you have a dream? They said, there's nothing to dream. What do we have to dream about? And that was very touching, I think. So this is the girl who was my image of Indira. And this is how the cotton production works, how many hands there are on the cotton production. And this is a spinning mill, and they are far from the village everywhere. If you want to escape from it, you see there's wire around it everywhere. You can't get out. It's like a prison. She was right. And if you get out, you can't go anywhere, because there are no houses in the neighborhood. You have to travel very far if you want to get to where people are living. And this is the cotton, and we've been in a mill, and we were telling a little bit of a lie. We said we were interested teachers who wanted to write about cotton, and this was the way we could get in. And here you see how they mix the cotton, and you see the elderly lady, there's cotton in her hair and it's in the air, and they get it in their lungs. And they get contracts for 3 years, but they can't finish the contract because they have so many cotton in their lungs. And here you see it's also here in the air. This is how the spinning works. Well, and this is how we work. Well, this is a bit gives a bit of an image of how we work and where we've been.
So I have a few questions about your trip. You said that in those factories, girls, they get a lot of cotton in their lungs. And do they wear masks, or there's some kind of like protection or something to protect their health?
Yeah. We didn't see the masks. At one time, we saw a woman who does like this with her shawl, but officially they had to wear a mask, but we didn't see it.
And this is what we heard. They only wear the masks when there is someone for the control coming in. So this is the only moment when they wear the mask, when there are some officials coming in. And it is also very hot. And it is difficult to breathe when you also wear a mask. So they don't like to wear the mask, and it's difficult. And there is no air conditioning. Well, there is air conditioning, but they don't use it. But only when the officials are there, they use the air conditioning.
So the work conditions are really, really bad and not good for their health. And what kind of stories did you hear from those girls? As I understood, there were 75 girls that you talked to, yes? So what kind of stories did you hear? Can you share a few of them?
We heard several stories, but the most how do I say that? What made the most impression to me was a girl who had her hand in the machine, and she was sent to the hospital because there was a lot of blood, and there was done a bandage about her hand, and no, that's it. And she had to go home because she couldn't work, and the factory didn't pay the bill from the hospital, and didn't pay her wages all the time. She was injured. And there was another story, Martine. Can you tell that?
And that girl of the hand, she had a totally black finger. And her whole family lived from her salary, and there was no money, so nobody in the family could eat because she was having this black finger, and it was never going to heal again. So that was quite shocking. And then there was the most heavy story we heard when we were alone with a mother and a daughter. They came to us to talk to us, and they told us about the sister of this girl, and the sister and the two sisters worked in the same factory, and the sister who was there was cold because her sister was lying unconscious on the floor, and there was blood coming from her head, and she was sitting there with her sister, and her sister died in her arms. And they said officially that her sister had committed suicide, that she had hung herself. But she saw the blood and the wounds on her head, and she knew she was being abused by one of the leading figure men there in the factory. And she had fought the man, and he had kicked her on the head, and this is how she died. And this is also, the sexual abuse is also very much an item in these factories. And she was telling the story, and her mother started to cry, and we started to cry. So we were sitting there, the four of us, and we took the mother in the arms, and we cried together. So that was a very impressive story.
Yeah, I can.
And all that stories we have used in our book. You can read it in Made by Indira.
Yes, there are so many stories about all those kind of what you told us now about. It's very touching. It's even a bit hard to talk now. How it is going on in India with all that cotton factories and with their girls' lives. So it's just one life story of Indira, how it is going on. But actually in the real world, it happens to many girls like this.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much for sharing the stories and trip about India. And after visiting India, did you have some kind of change in your behavior or maybe in your shopping habits?
Well, yes, I buy less, and I get some clothes from my sister-in-law. I'm more aware of I don't need every time new clothes, and it's important that there are other ways to get your clothes. And when I do buy something, I ask at when I pay for my clothes, I ask if they know where the clothes are made, and if there is child labor involved, and if they know if there are bad labor circumstances. I do not ask that every time, but to be honest, but I try to.
For me, it's the same. I have a friend who has a second-hand clothes shop, and she has given me for years clothes like these. So I haven't bought clothes since a very long time. But now she stopped her shop, and that's almost a year ago, and I have bought something, but not as before. I think, well, I have enough, and it's nice, and I've seen enough of it, but maybe someone else doesn't have seen this already, so it's okay. And so it has changed since then.
And what do you think about fast fashion in nowadays?
I think it's very bad actually, because nowadays we buy more and more clothes than 20 years ago, and it isn't necessary to buy every time for every opportunity new clothes. When you pay more for a trousers or a shirt, you can the quality is better, and you can use it longer, and I think that's better.
And I think it is the most polluting industry of the world, and you wouldn't know that, but it is the most polluting industry, and it uses a lot of water to produce cotton, for example. And I think if we want to change the climate and have a better earth, then we can start with ourselves and stop the fast shopping. And when I visit schools, I talk about it with girls as well. And they often say, well, I don't have much money. I need my clothes. And I understand it very well. They want to buy it. It's, of course, very attractive to do so. But, well, they maybe can change with friends and exchange clothes and don't buy all the new kind of things. And there are other ways to look nice without buy so much.
Yes, actually in Lithuania we have this kind of platform which is already spread around Europe. It's called Vinted, and there probably it's also in there. So Lithuanians are the creators of this. And yeah, I think this is one of the opportunity how you can stop the fast fashion and to do it like around the economy circle to use those clothes again and again. So maybe you have some other suggestions how all those young girls can stop fast fashion, and or maybe how to buy those clothes responsibly.
Now maybe they can do the same as Tara does in at the end of the story. She organized some kind of markets at school, and then exchange clothes or buy secondhand. That would if you are want something. You will not something not longer to wear, and other maybe will wear that.
And Vinted is, of course, a very good app for that. I think it's a very good solution. And there is in the Netherlands also an app where you can check what where the clothes come from the what you buy. Then you say it says check where it is made, so that you can control it. And it is also important, like what Caja said before, that you have to ask in a shop, where does it come from? Because if we all ask it, the sellers will be also more have more intention to change something about it.
Yeah. And this story leaves a really strong impact on readers. I think that on most of the readers, because it's I have really big influence from this book about India and all that fast fashion, and because you use also a lot of true facts, because you visited India, you asked those girls, you visited those factories. So it's really strong because it's not like science fiction, it's totally made up. But you also made it real from the true facts. And was it hard for you to write about the story? Because I understand while you were visiting India, it was already hard for you to listen those stories. But while you came back and then sat to write, how was it hard for you or not?
Well, I noticed when I came back, it was like it never happened because everything here was the same. We came out of the plane and the weather was bad, and it was like I had been in a dream. But in the weeks after we came back, I had a dream every night about those girls. I dreamt about it every night, so they were very much in my system, and that made it possible to write about it. So, and I think I can only write when I am affected like that. I need this urge to write it down. I cannot write with distance about things because then I cannot reach my readers. I know when I am affected, I can touch them too.
Yeah, and I was totally in shock when I was in India because it was the first time that that I was in a country outside Europe, and yeah, everything I see, the poverty, the slums, the garbage on the street, but also the stories of the girls. I was laying in my bed, I couldn't sleep there, and that's when I was at home again, the shock. Yeah, it was almost at me, the girls, the stories, and the pity and everything. But yeah, as Martine says, it helps to write.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you take off that all those memories, everything, and write in the book.
And for me, I was writing about a girl from Holland, and here in Holland, the girls from 14, 15 years old, they are having fun, they are going to school, they can to develop themselves, and they can make, they can choose to do everything they want. And the difference with the girls of the same age in India was so big. It was so, horrifying. Yeah.
And what I said before, the fact that they said when we asked, what is your dream? And we were on every different location, everywhere we asked it, and every girl said, I have no dream. And I think that's so shocking if a girl of 15 says, I have no dream. What is there to dream? When I come out of the factory, my parents will have arranged a marriage for me. I'll get 3 children and I have to work for my family. And my husband decides what I have to do. And before that, it is my parents who decide. I have no own choice. And that is so different for girls in the Western world, for most girls. So that was really shocking.
Mm-hmm. It's really shocking for those from Europe or other countries where we don't face these kind of problems, and we're free to dream, to choose what we want to work.
Yeah.
And as you traveled in India, you also saw this kind of like a bad side of India with work and labor exploitation, but you also saw the nice side of the India, about the food, the culture, celebrations, and it's also included in the book, in all the story. What did you find new or something very surprising in a nice way in India while you were traveling in there?
The colors. I liked very much the colors of India. Everywhere, it's streets, the clothes of the people there, but also the temples and the stories of the gods of the Hindus. It's especially the colors I liked very much.
And it was when we were discussing our trip before with the union who helped us. They said, no, let's not choose India because it's too beautiful. Then you think everything is nice when you see it. Yeah. You see these lovely girls and they all looked so pretty with these beautiful clothes and the gold and everything and the golden earrings. And they were with flowers in their hair. They were really lovely, all of them. And that was true. Yes, they were lovely. But
and also there I wanted to ask some few questions from our readers who gave you, they wanted to ask you about this book. And first of the question, they're asking, what do you think about the Lithuanian cover? Because it differs from the original version.
I think it's very pretty. I like it very much. It looks a bit, it's not, it's, you see, it's both, it's the back of a jeans, but I think I like very much this Indian elephant, and I like this, this is what you have on the back of your jeans as well. So I like it very much. And these, it's like what girls like to wear now. So I think that is a very beautiful cover. I like it very much.
Yeah, for me the same, and I think it shoots very much the broderie and the jeans and the elephants. It's I like it also very much.
And especially because I got as a present from one of the Indian people we visited, I got this elephant, so it makes me think of India very much.
Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you so much. And yes, it's very similar to the original version. And I really like in the original version the tickets that you can see where Tera is traveling to.
Yeah.
And it is our own tickets. It's they've used our own tickets for the cover, so that's funny. I think.
That's very nice. Yeah. And all those small kind of details, like the pocket is kind of with or ornaments from India, and it's very nice to see and see all those small features. And also, they gave also a question about who wrote the part for Indira or Tera, but you already answered this question, and thank you for that. And also there was a question: how does it look when you're writing together a book? Because well, everyone can understand when one person is writing a book, but when two people, do you have like special meetings until which time you have to write some kind of part and then you do a discussion, or how is it going?
You start, Caja.
Shall I begin?
Yes, do.
We have a lot of contact in the period we write. All the research we do it together. So we talk together at the union with the people from the union. We talked to several organizations to get our information. And afterwards, we are going to drink a cup of tea and talk about what can we use in our stories. And it was quite clear that Martine would write about Indira, and my character would be the Dutch girl. And Naya, at the telephone, the story we talking together, the story grows and grows. Now, and how
we always have you forget our meeting. After the research, we always have a meeting in the middle of where we live, because Caja lives in the north and I live 2 hours more to the south. And then we meet in the middle, and now everything is closed. But normally, then we can meet. There's a restaurant where we have lunch and sit together and talk all day, and then we make the plan of the book. So then we think we do this in my storyline, this in the other storyline, this is how we mix it, and that is the very big discussion. Then we start to write, and we wait for each other. We each do a chapter, then one, then the other one, and we discuss what we have written. And then when I get a chapter of Caja, I think, oh, well, I can use a little bit of that line in my story as well. And so we weave it together, and then we discuss a lot about it, and we call each other, what does Tera like in this? What do you do? Because I have learned from Caja that she makes a portrait of her character always beforehand. I never did it, but I started doing that after we worked together, and she thinks of everything of her character, like what is the hobbies, how is the family look like, what is the color of her hair, everything. So I write this portrait now always as well. And well, I asked especially to Caja, does she like this kind of sweets or something, because she knows everything. So this is how we discuss with each other through the story, I think.
Yeah, and when we were in India, every day we talked about not only about what we saw and what we heard, but also about the story, what we can use in the story. And at the end of the day, in the hotel room, you saw it at the PowerPoint, and also in the plane and in the bus, and in the car who drove us to the girls and the factories. We talked and talked, and yeah, together we made the story complete. Yeah,
it's really nice to hear how this story came up and found its life. I'm really glad that we have it in Lithuanian and our readers can read it. Also that other countries also can check it and read it. Thank you so much, Martine and Caja, for this conversation. To all our readers, you can find more conversations with our authors, illustrators on our YouTube channel, the Visus. And next time, I hope Martine and Caja, we will meet face to face and not virtually. I hope to have a Lithuanian version of another your book, together of your book. And I wish you the very best, a nice spring, and greetings from Lithuania.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your interest, and we are very happy that the book is available now in Lithuania. It's really,
And
really
that
wonderful.
the young people over there can read the story and about the child labor also.
Yes. So thank you so much, and goodbye, our readers.
Goodbye.